I initially saw Ghost of a Tale looking at what's popular on Origins, checked out how long to beat. 10 hours sounded really good, sounded like a game I'd actually be able to finish, and the screenshots of the game look extremely pretty. I call it a good game for the lounge. Call it also watchable and crowd friendly. My house guest even said, "Oh, you're playing that mouse game. I like the mouse game." Came over, sat down and watched. Certainly the best thing about Origins Basic Access is that I'm trying all these new games I would have never considered before. Booting up, intro seemed to very briefly set up the setting and backstory. It would seem that the rats are the reigning overlords, as they were the strongest out of all the animal races, to drive off something known as the Emerald Flame, a mysterious fire which burns all and resurrects them as undead. And after the intro, it quickly grew to frustration, as I'm so used to first-person shooters with a diamond to follow, and this game is a game where you keep getting lost. It's just one of those things. You get used to modern games. However, bear with it, because this decision, this design choice, is part of the enjoyment of the game. Premise is you are a mouse called Tilo, extremely likable character and cute, a minstrel, bard, and you have been separated from your wife and thrown into jail due to very unclear reasons. Controls are very familiar for any first or third person game. Left stick to move, and strafe and right stick to turn and look up and down. You have an inventory and journal screen, and everything seems to navigate well on a controller. Left trigger lets you run like Speedy Gonzales, and I certainly found myself doing it quite a bit, as this game is a lot about being stealthy and evading trouble. For my starting hour of this game, pretty much got lost for most of it. I came across my first NPC character, a frog, which seemed partially crazy. First experience of the dialogue, and it was surprisingly refreshing, just to have it as all text and not voiceover. I actually find this great, as I read faster than a lot of voice dialogue for games. I prefer it this way. Made my way through the jail cell to make it outside. So many RPGs start off with this initial dungeon that it's almost a mandatory thing. I suppose it serves as a controlled environment to learn the controls and appetize you for the larger world, which you will see, which it did. So I put down the game for one evening, and on the next game session I tried it again and found myself going around in circles quite often, still quite lost on what to do. But I started getting used to some of the stealth mechanics. There's no combat in this game, so you rely on evasion and hiding into chests if you get caught. The most combative thing you can do is perhaps throw these bottles at rats and knock them out. It was after the second session that I thought to myself, maybe this game would be another one of those games where I thought potentially that I might not finish it. I just have a dislike of not knowing where to go easily, of what is the point of it all. There seemed to be a whole bunch of items I had to just keep trying to locate and find, that this game would be destined to be one of those on the list I'd check back to but never will. But despite this, I decided to press on and give it a third go, and something felt quite different on the third play session. The lay of the land started to feel familiar. I started remembering locations and the routes in the jail and courtyard. I became more and more interested in exploring small nooks and crannies and discovering either switches that can be pulled or areas I could get to now that before I couldn't. I started to find many of the items the quests initially put out, and I think I started to understand what was fun regarding this game. And around about 5 hours in, I felt like I was starting to get drawn and sucked into the game. It took me a while to realise this game falls underneath the adventure game genre, with some action thrown in, with the evading of the guards and hiding in chests, barrels that you can find. Being an adventure game involves personality-rich characters to talk to. Also involves of you get lost, go back and talk to everybody and re-look at any areas you may have missed. And while with the initial feelings that even with the maps felt like getting lost very often, over a series of days of playing the game, started to learn the area, become familiar with the levels, as if I was learning the streets around my neighbourhood. It is very tempting to look online where to go, where to find this or that, and I did do it a couple times. The satisfaction of working it out in game is amazing, but there were times where I wussed out and quickly done a Google search just to find where certain things were. There is an in-game built-in cheat/help system, and that is through the blacksmith, a character who you can pay coins to, who will help you with where to go. And I think that's good, as the helpers are there, but also there's a limit to how much he can help you based on how many coins you have to spend. Although I have a bad tendency to save up coins, potions, save it in a rainy day for games, but since most of the things you can spend your coin on, there's only hints on where to go, you may as well do it, because you can always check the internet if you get lost and have run out of coins. The game seems to also have some RPG elements of an experience and level up system where you can get more health and stamina, but it's a very soft mechanic, and I'd say if there was a way to stay at level 1 for the whole game, you could probably still end and finish it. Many of the quests and side quests do seem to be involving find this thing, find that thing. I found I didn't really have to specifically look for a lot of them. Instead, just keep exploring different areas, and I came across many of the items just coincidentally. However, if you do need to finish a particular set of costume or certain items, you can get very specific clues through that of the blacksmith. Now, being about 7 hours into the game, it felt like the game's story really started to unfold. What is the green flame? What is the war? Why does this game have rats, mice and magpies? There is one area called the Far Tower, and the scenery looks like each tree and leaf and ivy has lovingly been placed. What a joy it was just to walk and explore this area. There are footnotes scattered throughout the game. At first I didn't really pay much attention, but more and more I started to get interested into the backstory and understand the history of this world that's been created. It feels like the early part of the game was really just to try to get you to understand the mechanics and controls of the game, and the story could start to now progress and unfold. With a story-rich game like this, I certainly will avoid any spoilers in this video. You get to fit out with costumes, and there's one particular important one quite early on in the game, which is useful, but slows your movement speed right down, which is only one drawback, and things can be a bit of a slog to get around the maps. In some ways, this game is really, I don't know how to quite put it, but level rich, where it seems that the quests are just in there to get you to explore and gaze at the beautiful scenery, which is the main part of the game. A big part of the plot's mystery is the rat overlords clearly have no love for little mice, but there are a couple of them who are out there to help you, for what reason however. The game lacks music normally, which is ironic, as your character is literally a musician, but it makes up with it for when the music does play. It suits the mood more. It is charmingly done with lyrics and small melodies which sound like MIDI files. My tips for people playing this game would be, you would want to start checking out the guards to see if they have any keys or items on them to steal. Pay close attention to tables and cupboards and things hanging off walls. As with adventure games, it can be tricky to figure out where to go sometimes, and well, internet is always there. You can pretty much type in whatever you're looking for to work it out, especially when you run out of patience. Plenty of side quests, but I didn't realise until, well, quite late into the game that the main quest is marked with this pause sign. I ended up finishing this game in 9 hours, 27 minutes and 40 seconds as a first playthrough. Yeah, Ghost of a Tale, adventure RPG action game where I'd say has numerous picturesque scenes where would like to stop and stare. Small touches like the sunrise, light beams and slowly moves across the landscape, and a surprisingly emotional plot which I would recommend you discover. Thanks for watching.